Hi, welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville. Been a little while between videos. I've had a cold, and let me tell you, nothing gets you personal space more than having a cold during a pandemic. But because of my cold, I haven't really been able to speak, and even now it's a bit scratchy and a bit hard to get through. But what it did give me was plenty of time to sort of just sit back and think about things. So I'm going to punch out some short, sharp videos so I don't have to speak too much. But they're just going to be kind of my random thoughts about things over the next couple of days. The first thing is I've been thinking about my channel and where it wanted to go. I've been thinking about collecting and where I wanted to go. And I started thinking about things I really wish were true. I wish this, had happened, or things were this way because it would make things better. I've also made a list of things that I'm grateful for, that I'm glad they are the way they are. See me on the other side of the intro and we'll have a talk about them. Hi, so welcome back, and as I promised, these are the 4 things which I wish were true and 4 things which I'm glad are the way they are. I'm going to kick it off with, I really wish I was into Rolex. I really wish I wanted one. I really wish I didn't have this kind of barrier between me and the brand, not being able to connect. Things would be so much easier. There's a ready-made audience. I could just dive straight in. There'd be literally, I'm leaving thousands, tens of thousands of clicks on the table by not having a Rolex. And the price of entry is pretty high. The amount of faffing about you got to do to get a Rolex is pretty high. So I'm not going to do it unless I really want it, and I really don't. So I'm not going to get a Rolex, and as I said, I know as a YouTube channel, I am leaving so many clicks on the table. I wish I wanted one, but I don't. Okay, so number 2 is I really wish I wanted G-Shocks. I don't feel anything when I look at G-Shocks. With Rolex, at least I feel something. I look at a G-Shock, I look at a Rolex and think, that's not for me. It inspires a whole bunch of feelings about status and hierarchy and boasting, and it just, Rolex doesn't do anything. Rolex does things for me, but they're negative and they keep me away from the brand. G-Shocks do nothing for me. I look at G-Shocks and I see microwave ovens and fridges and dishwashers. I see white goods and domestic appliances. I don't see a watch that excites me, and I wish I did, because I watch other YouTubers and they're really excited about G-Shocks, and Casio or G-Shock gives you so many options, and I can see, if you're into it, it's really fun and it's really affordable and it's a great place to play, but it just, like I say, it just doesn't inspire any feelings in me at all. And the whole point of this hobby is to feel things. So G-Shocks just leave me, they just go past. 3, I really, really wish I didn't despise selling things so much. I watch other YouTubers and so many go through essentially stock. They buy something, they have it for a little while, they do their videos, they then sell it, and they seem to do so easily. And I hate the selling process. I really despise it. The mucky muck of having to deal with like the money side, and then having to put the thing away and then ship it, and all the time you've got to be careful because you're going to be selling it. And all this worry about what if they don't like it, what if they do a return, what if, I really hate selling, and so I don't do it. I'm very, very, very careful about my buying to avoid selling. And I know that hurts me. I know that hurts my channel, but I just can't get over that hurdle. 4, I wish I'd got into watches sooner. I wish I look I got into watches as I was approaching my 50th birthday. So that's coming up on, say, 6.5 years ago. By that stage, that's late 2015, early 2016, the ship had sailed. Everyone knew about watches. The internet was alive with it. The forums had grown and become Facebook and Instagram. All of the really good deals that people talk about had gone. It was just, we hadn't quite hit the current levels of hype, but of course we hadn't, because that's been constantly climbing. But that hype train had well and truly started putting steam in the engine and getting moving. And I really wish I'd got there earlier. And so instead of spending money on cameras and skydiving and skiing and travel and bicycles and restoring cars, if I'd have been able to buy watches, it would have been just wondrous. Okay, so they're the 4 things I wish were true. Now here are the 4 things that I'm grateful for, that I'm really glad are the way they are. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice there's a bit of mirroring going on. Make it obvious with the first one. I'm actually really grateful I didn't get into watches any sooner. I think that if I look back on my life, and I think if I'd have got into watches, would that have consumed my money, my time, my attention, and stopped me living the life, or not stopped me, but got in the way of the things that I've done? So yeah, sure, I'd have a better watch collection, but would that have come at the cost of not scuba diving? Would that have come at the cost of not traveling? Would that have come at the cost of not having the photography gear I've got, or not having messed around with cars the way I had? So you know what? Yes, I do look at my watch collection now and go, if I'd have been into watches so much earlier, it'd be a better collection now. But I don't think I would have been happier. So ultimately, I'm glad I didn't get into watches earlier than I did. Okay, next one up. I'm really glad that my tastes and my means roughly align. That is, what I mean by that is, I can afford the watches I want, and I want the watches I can afford. I'm really fortunate that I don't ever find myself really lusting after pieces that I'm never going to be able to buy. I really am. I see people who make these lists of, if they won the Powerball, if their grails are these $200,000-$300,000 watches. I like those watches. I respect those watches, but I don't ever want those watches. And I'm confident that, because I'm confident that even if I had more money, I wouldn't. And the reason why I say that is because even though I know I can afford watches up here, most of the watches I buy are actually cheaper than I can afford anyway. Where I see, I don't want to say value, but where I see what I want to pay for, where I see what I appreciate, falls within my means. And I'm really happy about that. Okay. Third thing I'm really grateful for is I am so grateful I'm not into bracelets. I like rubber straps. I like NATOs. I like leather straps. I don't really like bracelets. I've got a couple of watches on bracelets, but of my 60 or so watches, I think 3 are on steel. It's not something I enjoy. I don't like the feel, but it's not really for me. But why am I glad it's not for me? Because as an outsider looking in, what I've noticed is that the people who are really into bracelets, it's really constricting. It's really limiting. I see forum post after forum post, Facebook after Facebook, YouTuber after YouTuber, talking about, oh, I love this watch, but I don't like the bracelet. And I really like the bracelet. And bracelets aren't like bands. You can't just swap them about, apparently. Apparently, if you're into bracelets, you think of the bracelet as part of the watch. And that becomes really constraining. And I love that I can look at a watch and go, well, I don't like the bracelet, but I'm not getting it anyway. Or better still, I love that I can look at a watch and go, I can save $400 and not buy the bracelet. I'm so happy that I don't want the bracelets. It gives me so many more options and it makes this hobby just so much cheaper. And finally, the last point that I'm glad about is the mirror of the first point that I wish was true. Just as on one hand, I wish I was into Rolex, on the other hand, I'm so grateful I'm not. When I was into cars, I liked doing like autocross and motocross. And one of the reasons for that is it has what I called a positive fun to faff factor. And that, what I mean by that is the amount of fun you got out of it was many, many times the amount of faffing about you had to do to be involved. Rolex, take on the other hand, drag racing, it's the opposite. Tiny little bits of fun, 10, 12 seconds of fun, but weeks of faffing about to get that 15, 12 seconds. Rolex is kind of the same. I'm sure they're great watches. I'm sure the people that have them love them. But looking from the outside, there's so much faffing about. Getting on lists, finding the guy, schmoozing people who should be trying to schmooze you. It's just so much hard work. And I'm kind of grateful that I don't feel the need to engage in that. On one hand, it would be great for the channel if I did. It would be great for my clicks and my views and income and all that sort of thing. But in the main, for me, it would seem that if I really wanted a Rolex, I would have to do a lot of stuff I really, really don't want to do. And so I'm glad that doesn't even really come up as a question for me. So anyway, they're the 4 things I wish were true about me, my channel, my collecting hobby, all that, my collecting habits, all that sort of thing. There's the 4 things I'm grateful for that I'm glad are the way they are. What about you? What are the things you're really happy about the way you collect, the way you see this hobby? And then conversely, what are the things you wish were different, that you wish you could somehow be like or do or enjoy? I'd love to know. I think so often we just accept that things are what they are. And it's a really fun game to think about, what if things were different? What if I were different? So leave your comments below. I'd love to hear. I've been Pete McGonville. This has been Not So Obvious Watches, and I'll see you later. Bye.